Good afternoon and welcome to the City Council meeting of April 27th, 2026. I ask that you all rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With flowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Stand on guard for thee.
Thank you to our very own Tenille Towns for singing of the national anthem and our marketing department for the images of our city. I would now like to take the opportunity to read our land acknowledgement. The city respectfully acknowledges the Beaver, Cree, Dene, and Métis people as the original caretakers of these lands and surrounding areas. We are grateful to live, learn, work, and play on treaty territory within Turtle Island, and acknowledge that these lands have been home to diverse and sovereign First Nations and Inuit nations since time immemorial. Moving on to proclamations this week, we have a couple proclamations, and I'm going to start with the Youth Health Week proclamation. So from the Office of the Mayor, Youth Week, May 1st to May 8th, 2026. Whereas Youth Week is a time to recognize and celebrate the contributions, achievements, and the potential of young people in our community, and whereas Youth Week encourages collaboration between youth, community, organizations, educators, businesses, and residents to build a strong and supportive environment for young people. And whereas to celebrate Youth Week, the City of Grande Prairie and the Youth Advisory Council are proud to host a dive-in movie, Start Before You're Ready, Confidence and Employability Skill Session, and the 3rd Annual Career Discovery Expo. And whereas Youth Career Discovery Expo, held in collaboration with the Government of Alberta, the County of Grande Prairie, and the MD of Greenview, as well as community partners, brings together employers, educators, and organizations to help youth ages 15 to 30 explore pathways to opportunity, training, and education. The event supports youth in building connections, skills, and confidence to pursue opportunities in our region. Now, I, Mayor Jackie Clayton, do hereby proclaim in the City of Grande Prairie, May 1st to May 8th as Youth Week in the City of Grande Prairie. And I'll sign this, and then I'll get you to come up and accept this, and we'll grab a picture with council. One moment. I know we have many representatives from our organization here today, so if you wouldn't mind joining me for a picture, that would be really appreciated. Well, that was the first one. Second one today is Mental Health Week. Give me 1 second here. From the Office of the Mayor, the Proclamation for Mental Health Week, May 4th to 10th, 2026. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all people experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and mental health challenges are common and treatable, and whereas stigma and misunderstanding often discourage individuals from seeking help and support. And whereas mental health conditions are real and can affect people of every age, background, and circumstance. And whereas promoting mental health wellness and providing access to mental health services and supports strengthens individuals, families, and communities. And whereas during Mental Health Month, we come together to raise awareness, support one another, promote access to resources, and encourage open conversations about mental health. And whereas by fostering understanding, acceptance, and compassion, we can build a stronger, healthier community where no one feels alone in their mental health journey. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Jackie Clayton, Mayor of the City of Grande Prairie, do hereby proclaim May 4th to 10th as Mental Health Week in the City of Grande Prairie and encourage all residents to join together to increase awareness and understanding of mental health, reduce stigma, and offer support to those facing mental health challenges. Together, we can create a community where mental health is recognized as essential to overall well-being and where everyone feels empowered to seek help, offer support, and thrive. Thank you. All right. And we don't have anybody here accepting this, so I'll keep this one. And then I'm going to move on to the rest of the agenda for today. For the adoption of the previous council minutes, item 5.1, recognizing Councillor O'Connor.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I'd like to move council adopt the minutes of the City Council meeting held March 30th as presented.
That motion is in order. Call the question. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to the second motion of today's agenda, the special City Council meeting held on April 2nd, recognizing Councillor Thiessen.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I'd move that council adopt the minutes of the special City Council meeting held April 2nd as presented.
That motion is in order, and seeing no one in the queue with discussion or debate, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that, too, carries unanimously. Moving on to the adoption of today's agenda, recognizing Councillor Flack.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I move council adopt the agenda with the addition of item 8.2, public member appointments, Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee.
All right, that motion is in order. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to today's agenda, there are no delegations, but for those who might be watching at home, Council encourages delegations to come to Council by simply filling out a form. When we have an evening session, there is an evening opportunity. When we don't, it's only at 3 o'clock. However, there are no delegations coming this afternoon, and there is no evening session. So I will move on to reports. Item 8.1, 2026, weed inspectors. This is something that Council does every year to appoint our weed inspectors, and I'll turn this over to Chief Glavin for introduction.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I don't think I can sum it up much more than that, so I'm going to turn it directly over to Director DeVries.
Mr. DeVries, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. I will do my best to provide more summary. The Weed Control Act of Alberta does require a local authority to appoint weed inspectors to inspect and to enforce the control of noxious and prohibited noxious weeds throughout the municipality. And then the Act also requires that the local authority appoint a committee to handle appeals arising from the application of the Weed Act legislation. So with that, today's recommendation, administration recommends that Council appoint Barb Wielander, Avery Morrow, Jaden Carroll, and Jaden Bayer as weed inspectors under the Weed Control Act of Alberta for the 2026 season. and appoint the General Appeals Board as an independent appeals panel for the 2026 year. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Opportunity for question or business arising, recognizing Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. Just for business, if that's okay.
Go for it, sorry.
Okay, thank you. I would like to move council appoint Barb Wielander, Avery Morrow, Jaden Carroll, and Jaden Bayer as weed inspectors under the Weed Control Act of Alberta for the 2026 season, and number 2, appoint the General Appeals Board as an independent appeals panel for 2026. And just to speak to this, as Mr. DeVries just mentioned, it's something we do every year, but weed control is something that's important to council. We want our city to be attractive, and when there are areas of weeds that break out, feel free to report it to 311, and we'll get our weed inspectors on it and hopefully resolve the situation.
Great. Thanks for that, Councillor Berg. That motion is in order. No one in the queue with discussion or debate, so I'll call the question. Please vote. Councillor Palat, how do you vote? No worries. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to item 8.2, the public member appointments for the Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee, and I'll turn this one over to Chief Miller for introduction.
Right, thanks, Mayor Clayton. So we have the new Community Housing Advisory Board that's just being put together. So today we'd like council to, I think you've reviewed the candidates already, and if you could just do the public member appointments, please.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Looking for someone to take the business. Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I would move that council appoint the following to the Housing and Homelessness Advisory Committee: Brad Cameron, Brittany Orcheski, Jane Manning, Alicia Jones, and Enwin Alaku for terms ending December 31st, 2027. Number 2, Shelby Fitzpatrick, Shelley Daychek, Jared Gossin, Julie Phelps for terms ending December 31st, 2028. 3, Councillor O'Connor for a term ending October 18th, 2026. And 4, Tammy Wenzel as chair for a term of 6 months. Just speaking to this motion, you might notice that some terms are longer than the others. Council discussed the merits of dividing the board up so that we don't have to replace the whole board all over again in a year and a half or 2.5 years. So that is why, based off of experience on the board and expertise, that we have chosen everyone for 2.5 and 1.5 years. Now, some members have been on the former CAB before, and will be continuing in the capacity on this role, and I encourage council to support this motion. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that, Councillor Thiessen. Recognizing Councillor Bressie.
Great, thank you. I also think it is worth talking a little bit about the recommendation here in terms of the chair. It is a bit unusual to appoint a city staff person as chair, but I think it makes sense to do a very time-limited one, as there are so many new people on this board. I think it makes sense to give a little bit of time for the board to figure out who's got what skills, who's got interest for that before it appoints before we figure out who's going to chair it long term. So I could definitely support this motion, but not because I want a staff person chairing this board long term, just to help get it going.
Perfect. Thanks for that explanation. Appreciate that. Seeing no one else in the queue, unless Councillor Thiessen, you had something else to add?
No,
you're still in the queue. That's why I asked. All right. Seeing none, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to committee business, item number 9 on today's agenda. First one being 9.1, the Financial Administrative Services Committee meeting held April 21st. And I will look to Councillor Palat for introduction.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I would just make a motion that council adopt the minute of the Financial and Administrative Services Committee meeting held April 21st as presented.
Great. Thanks for that motion. That motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion or debate, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Councillor Platt, a couple items of business today.
Yeah, Mayor Clayton, I would also move, we discussed every year we bring back our amendments to our fees, rates, and bylaw changes, and this is something that we do through budget. So we have this come back, and so I just make a motion that council give first reading to bylaw C 1395S, being an amendment to the fees, rates, and bylaw. Charges bylaw.
So that motion is in order. First reading to bylaw C-1395S. No discussion or debate on first reading, so I'll call the question. Please vote. That carries unanimously. Councillor Plott.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. I'd make a motion that council give second reading to bylaw C-1395S.
That motion is in order. Opportunities for questions for administration, discussion, debate. Seeing none, I will call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I would make a motion that council have third reading of bylaw C-1395S at this meeting.
The motion is in order. In order for us to have third reading here today, this must pass unanimously. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote. That carries unanimously. Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. I would ask for council to give third reading to bylaw C-1395S, being an amendment to the fees, rates, and charges bylaw.
Thank you for that. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question on third reading of bylaw C-1395S, being an amendment to the fees, rates, and charges bylaw. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Councillor Plott, if you wanted to go on with item 9.1, or 9.2 rather, 9.1.2. Thanks.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. So last week at committee, we had our Q4 25 financial report brought to committee. We had lots of discussion, debate. We had lots of information more from Chief Whiteway on that. So I move that council receive the unaudited financial statements and supporting information for the year ending December 31st, 2025 for information. And 2, to approve the transfer of the 2025 operating surplus of $3.786 million to the following: $300,000 to the Community Enhancement Reserve, $2,336,000 to the Financial Stabilization Reserve, and $1,150,000 to the Facility Renewal Reserve.
Great, thanks for that motion. And just for those who may not have seen last week during standing committee, the conversations of some of the numbers, we ended up at some of the numbers as a result of policies. Some of them were a result of other commitments, and those numbers are reflected in that motion. So seeing no one else in the queue, I will call the question. And that carries unanimously. Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. And because we had that report come forward, we did get our 2025 consolidated financial statements. So I want to thank Ms. Edmonds from MNP and Chief White and our staff for working together. We did have a chat with our auditor, and it was very nice to hear that they had a great working relationship with our administration and they didn't see anything of concerns. So I appreciated that. And so I move that council approve the audited consolidated financial statements of the City of Grande Prairie for the year ending December 31st, 2025.
Thank you for that motion. The motion is in order, and as Councillor Plott mentioned, council did have an opportunity to have conversation with our auditor in case there was questions. Seeing from the business that came as a result of that, we are here in this motion today. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question on the consolidated financial statements. Please vote. That carries unanimously. And last but not least, any highlights from your meeting, Councillor Plott?
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Most of it was around the financials, but we did have some service area updates from Chief Whiteway. Under financial management, our administration is working on March month end, including the first quarter of 2026. Documents and tools are being updated for departmental 2027 budget preparations already. Under taxation assessment, preparation for this year's tax levy is underway. The appeal period has passed for our assessments, with 37 appeals filed. Of those, 2 were single-family dwellings, and the remainder were commercial or multifamily properties. And that's my report.
Great, thanks for that, Councillor Plott. Moving on to the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting, also held on April 21st. I'll turn this one over to Councillor O'Toole for introduction.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I move the council adopt the minutes of the Public and Protective Services Committee meeting held April 21st as presented.
Thank you for that. That motion is in order. Seeing no one in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Some highlights from your meeting, Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, we did have a bit of a discussion with the AISH and other benefits, and I've got somebody here that would like to make a motion.
I wanted to go through your report. We'll get to other... That's all you had from your report? All right. Any questions from my colleagues in regards to the committee report? Recognizing Councillor Flack.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clayton. Just something that it's been brought to our attention a few times. I've received several emails, and I know some of my colleagues here have as well, just regarding the upcoming changes to the AISH program. They're switching over to ADAP in July. Just to give some background, Alberta residents currently receiving support from AISH will be transferred over to the new ADAP program in July. Transferring to this new program, recipients will receive a maximum monthly benefit of $1,740, which is a $200 reduction from what they would be receiving now. And very simply, the tone of the emails that I've been receiving is fear. A lot of uncertainty surrounds this transition to ADAP. This change affects an extremely vulnerable sector of our community, and I share their concerns that additional consultation needs to be done before they roll this out in July. So I'll make my motion here, and then, I move council direct the mayor to write to the minister regarding proposed changes to disability benefits, requesting the release of local impact data, including the number of residents affected, further consultation with Grande Prairie residents, and a pause to program changes until this information and feedback are considered.
All right. So that motion is in order. Opportunity for my colleagues at questions of administration, or if there's something in the motion that you want a clarification from Councillor Flack, recognizing Councillor Thiessen.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Yeah, this is a motion I can totally get behind. We've seen this across the province, both through ASHA and here locally at home. People are scared, and it's no consolation that they're told that, oh, you can work more hours now, and we've made that adjustment because some people, quite frankly, just can't work those hours, and some people probably aren't fit to work those extra hours too. When the province decided to change AISH to ADAP, my initial thought was, oh, well, they're probably going to go in the direction of CERB, but they went the opposite direction. They went with less funding for the people who need it most in a time where inflation is so hyper-inflated that surviving from year to year is getting harder to budget between year and year. It's my personal hope that they would have at least started with the CERB and then indexed a bit of inflation from there to a quality of living where people can actually live off of those. And if they want to work, great, that's awesome. That's something that we advocated for in the mental health realm years ago. We never got it. Now we got it, but now our people have less actual income coming in, so they're sort of being forced to go back to work. And like I said before, in some cases they can't. So thanks for your motion, Councillor Flack. I'll 100%, 120% fully support it.
Thanks for that. Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. I totally support this as well. Somebody very close to us is on AISH, and it's been quite the struggle just even navigating the system and the transition. Fortunately, this person has advocates that are working hard, but even with that, it's a struggle. One of the criteria, too, is getting a doctor's appointment, doctor certified, for somebody that's already been permanently disabled. Going through that again has proven to be yet another challenge, and for a government that wants to reduce red tape, this just simply adds to it on the people that may not have the skill set to navigate the system. Also, the cutback too, as it sits currently, it's about half the money of what's considered the poverty line, and so to cut that back when it's already roughly half is a great and massive struggle for these people just to get by. So it doesn't offer them a lot of quality of life, and they're already disadvantaged. So this is something I can absolutely support.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Yeah, are there some challenges with AISH? Absolutely, especially for individuals that are able to work a good amount of hours. I do know that there are individuals who work enough hours that the clawbacks under AISH aren't fair to those people, and that does need to be fixed. And that's something I've heard from advocates say that needs to be fixed. But I don't think you help those people by hurting everybody else on AISH, which unfortunately I think this is gonna do. The amount of income that somebody's gonna have to make in order to be even under this program is out of reach for so many people that are on AISH and won't be able to get back on AISH. And never mind out of reach for them, I don't think our local economy and our local community has enough jobs for all of these people to go out and get the hours they'll need to, quote unquote, be made whole and stay even in this. So I really am worried about the impact this is going to have of taking people with disabilities who are already in poverty and putting them into even more crushing poverty. I don't feel right about that as an Alberta taxpayer. I'm happy to pay a little bit of extra taxes to take care of these people. And also looking at it just completely cynically in terms of government funding and keeping tax dollars low, I think poverty actually costs the taxpayers a lot of money in the long term. And I don't think making life even harder for these people, when I look at the expense that could have on primarily our medical system, but also our social system, also potentially our criminal justice system. I haven't seen data to say that the juice is worth the squeeze. I don't even really know how much money this is purported to save Alberta taxpayers. And I'm really skeptical that any savings it has will actually be real savings when we look at the downstream impacts of this. And most importantly, I really want to echo what Councillor Flack said in terms of people are scared on this. People, they don't feel consulted, they're worried about their future, and these are members of our community that already deal with enough difficulties. And they need a program that doesn't take away income from them, and also they need a rollout that's not this terrifying to them. So I really hope that we'll see the government release more information so we can understand the impact. I'm really hoping that we'll see the government do more thorough consultation with people and actually hearing about these impact on them. And I really hope that we'll see a pause in this while that happens, and hopefully that pause leads to a reversal and a change. So I'll be supporting this motion.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I agree with everyone that spoke. I've had calls as far as high level all throughout the Peace Country, and I've had people crying in my ear. I've had emails that were, destitute and not sure how they're going to live after a certain date. And so I'm fully supportive of the mayor writing a letter to discuss this with our government. So with that, thank you very much. And thank you for making that motion.
Anything to add, Councillor Flack? Call the question. Please vote.
Forced to anyways. It makes it more fun for us.
I know, right? Yeah. And that carries unanimously. Moving on to the Operational Services Committee meeting, also held on April 21st, item 9.3 on today's agenda. I would like to ask Councillor Thiessen to introduce this.
Thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. I move that Council adopt the minutes of the Operational Services Committee meeting held April 21st as presented.
Thanks for that, Councillor Thiessen. Seeing no one else in the queue with discussion or debate, I'll call the question on that. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. One item of business today, Councillor Thiessen.
You got it, Mayor Clayton. One item of business today to talk about from the Operational Services Committee meeting, and that is our surface lease agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipeline. And with that, I would move that Council approve a lease agreement with ATCO Gas and Pipeline Limited for a portion of Plan 8721915, Block 1, Lot 94, PUL. And in speaking to this motion, administration had received an inquiry from ATCO for a surface lease on city-owned land to provide site access, safer site access. The proposed access road will require us to approve detailed engineering drawings and will allow ATCO that safe access to their facility without disrupting traffic, transit, and pedestrians along 104th Avenue. And for all those reasons, I hope everyone gets behind this. Thank you.
Thanks for that introduction and that explanation. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question. Please vote.
Councillor Thiessen in favor.
And that carries unanimously. Any highlights from your meeting, Councillor Thiessen?
I got a few highlights here, Mayor Clayton. Starting with street sweepers. I don't know if you've seen them out there, but they're doing a heck of a good job in cleaning up those streets. They're out and about and doing their duties to clean the debris from the winter that we'll hopefully not see again until December of 2026. Maintenance is also underway at our ice plants throughout the city. We know that there's been lots of requests for more ice space, but we got to maintain the ones we got. So that's what is happening as we speak. Our seasonal staff for summer and spring operations has begun today on April 27th. So we welcome the new recruits to the team and some returning recruits. And the city is continuing to see similar levels of residential development permits and an increase in commercial development compared to last year, which is a good sign that things are still growing in Grande Prairie. Also, other things that we discussed the addition of a transit express route that was received for information, and some discussion around the table about maybe talking about it around budget. Request for a waiver of fees for Rising Above in their new housing complex was approved by committee. And last but not least, a telecommunication tower request for letter of attestation was approved unanimously at council as it went by all of our guidelines and bylaws. And with that, Mayor Clayton, that was our meeting.
Thanks so much for that. Appreciate that. Looking to move on to item 9.4, the Investment Strategy Committee meeting also held April 21st. Turn this one over to Councillor Berg for introduction.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. I would like to move council adopt the minutes of the Investment and Strategy Committee meeting held April 21st as presented.
That motion is in order. I'll call the question on that motion. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. Highlights from your meeting, Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. Of course, we just had the National Youth Wrestling Championships at the Design Works Center last weekend. Approximately 850 athletes and over 250 coaches from across Canada came to Grande Prairie. The Regional Recreation Administrative Working Group has compiled black ice for the 2025-2026 ice season. The total for the season was 30 hours regionally between 7 user groups, with only 4.25 hours of black ice facilities between 3 user groups. And I know hockey and ice time has been a topic recently, so worth mentioning. Also in communications, the city's annual report is now available online. It is actually a good read in sharing highlights and accomplishments from 2025. And then from Ledge and Executive Services, recruitment for the Grande Prairie Police Commission board members is open, and I checked just before the meeting. It remains open for interesting candidates. You can find more about the Grande Prairie Police Commission on the city's website. And that's my report.
Great, thanks for that, Councillor Berg. Moving on to item 9.5, the Council Committee of the Whole meeting held April 22nd. There is a policy in there, business arising. I would look to Councillor Bressie for the first motion.
Sure, Mayor Clayton. I would move the council adopt the minutes of the Council Committee of the Whole meeting held April 22nd as presented.
Thanks for that. Seeing no one in the queue with questions, concerns, I'll call the question. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. There's a policy in there, and if you're comfortable, Councillor Bressie, thank you.
Sure. I would move that the council adopt policy 220, being the fair access policy as presented. And just speak to this. 2 programs that I'm incredibly proud of in the city, our recreation access program and our transit access program, and similar programs as well that we have that allow residents of all economic means to access both our transit system and our recreational facilities. So they're vital programs, but they're also programs that are costly programs, and there's users that access them at different ways. The recommendation is that we put into policy ways to put some pretty reasonable limits around what people can use, especially in the recreation world, just to make sure that it's being fair to everyone concerned. If people are curious about what those limits might look like, council hasn't decided on those limits yet. The idea is if this policy passes, we decide on those this fall in budget deliberations. But during this committee meeting, there was a slide presentation that showed two options for council and how many recreation programs people would be able to access under both those options. They both look really reasonable to me. A kid, if those were the only access they had to recreation every year, they're still getting in the pool a lot. They're still taking part in various programs. I think they're very reasonable. What's going to come to council for suggestions. At the same time, there was conversation at committee about not wanting to touch transit access and make sure that that stays fully available to people, which is something I hope that council does do if it follows this policy when we get to budget deliberations, that we don't touch transit. But we should follow most other communities in putting some limits around the recreation side. So I hope that council will accept this policy. Last thing I'll mention is we've got, by my count, 5 different policies that are all kind of contradictory that are hitting for different groups, and having one cohesive policy that encompasses everything together would also just make things more fair and understandable for residents, which is an increased service level that I think is important.
Great. Thanks for that introduction, Councillor Bressie. I did have a question for, so that motion is in order. I did have a question for administration in regards to this. Maybe I can ask Ms. Whiteway. I know the answer, but could you tell us when these changes would be effective?
Thank you for the question. January 1st, 2027.
Great, thank you. So for those who might be watching at home, as Councillor Bressie indicated, there are some changes. There's some opportunity to learn more about those changes, as they won't be effective until January 1st, 2027. Seeing no one else in the queue, I'll call the question on that. Please vote. And that carries unanimously. One other item, moving to item number 10 under correspondence. Item in your package, a letter just for information from the Minister of Advanced Education, Minister McDougall, responding to a letter that we had sent in regards to showing our support for opportunities of expanding skilled trades in the City of Grande Prairie campus. The letter was actually sent to Minister Scow as the Minister of Jobs, Economy and Trade, talking about how trades training impacts our economy. This he had passed to Minister McDougall to respond. The response is there, and it's just there for your information. Don't need a motion for that, so I'm going to move on to, there are no delegations today as noted, no notices of motion, and we're not having a recess. So I'm going to move to Council Member Roundtable. I know it's been a little while since we've met, so I know there are probably quite a few items. If I can ask you to be brief, however, in your explanations, and I'll start with Councillor O'Connor.
No pressure for me to keep it short. So did not have a lot of things happening as my wife and I went to the United Kingdom for 18 days, and it was wonderful to experience the country. It was a little on the cooler side, but it was better than -20. So just want to say what a beautiful country to go visit, and hope everybody gets a chance to go there someday. Thank you.
Councillor Berg.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Clayton. I have a relatively short list as well. My wife and I managed to get away for a week between my 2 jobs. I allow myself 1 week off a year, and that was it. And so I still managed to get a few things in, including this past weekend. I attended Earth Day at the Bows, and timely, where I learned some of the weeds that are in the area that we have to be on the watch out for. And I did ask a number of people that were set up, because I know historically it's been at the Teresa Sargent Hall if they preferred the new location at the Bows, and it was unanimous. Everyone preferred the Bows. It allowed a little bit more space, and they did see an increase in the crowd. So a great job by our team there. I did attend part of the National Tourism Week panel with Mayor Clayton and other regional representatives discussing tourism in the region. Also, Mayor Clayton and I were part of a meeting with the Healthcare Task Force and attended the Invest Grande Prairie Mixer with Ag, Energy, and Forestry. Met a lot of new people there that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, and compliments from some of industry where they have parallel business and they don't necessarily get to see these people often enough because the meetings just simply aren't set up. And so there was some good communication all around. So these mixers are proving to be innovative, even for, I wouldn't say necessarily competing industry, but complementary industry. And so maybe that's not necessarily what our intention was when we set these up, but it's certainly a benefit that is emerging. And that's my report.
Great. Thanks for that, Councillor Berg. Councillor Flack.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Clayton. Yeah, there's been a lot of time since our last council meeting, but a couple of things I've been up to, a couple of the highlights. I was able to bring greetings to Dr. Miles, his retirement ceremony. He's been a surgeon in Grande Prairie for several years, and he's brought a lot of really good things here. I was also able to attend the ribbon cutting for Prairie Pals. It's a new play place for kids, and it actually looks really cool. I don't have kids, so I won't be there, but they have
Good.
they also have a cafe, and yeah, it was awesome. And then Saturday night I attended 80s night fundraiser for United Way with Councillor O'Connor and Councillor Bressy and Councillor Auger. That was a good time too. It was pretty busy, and they raised some money, so it's good to see.
Great for that. Or great. Thanks for that report, Councillor Flack. Recognizing Councillor Plott.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. A couple things I just want to highlight. I went to the Economic Developers Conference in Kananaskis last week, a couple weeks ago, I guess. Just some of the panel discussions. There was a lot of discussion around energy and just how much the gas-fired power generation is going to be needed in Alberta. I didn't get the gentleman's name, but I called him electricity guy in my notes, but he was very confident that we're short on infrastructure moving forward, and something that, as the tone of that conference went on, made me very excited about our region, and even the announcement with Shell today. So the natural gas space is a big area of opportunity for us in this region, with lots of talks around data center again, and back to that gas-powered power generation. The opportunities within Alberta are pretty bound with us seeing one of those. And the other one, going the other extreme, was talking about how aging is happening in Alberta. You know, we've been this youngest province in Canada for a long time. We're starting to see some aging. We've even seen it in our local demographics, but just the impact that aging seniors are going to have on our economy. It's actually interesting for Grande Prairie because that hasn't been a typical problem for us. We're seeing it in some of our housing gaps, but I was happy to see there's another opportunity potentially coming for Grande Prairie that way. I also attended the Grande Prairie Police Commission and committee meetings. I have to say it's incredibly nice to hear our superintendents and our police commission talk about how we're going to continue to work together with the RCMP even past POJ, and that's been a theme that I keep hearing in those meetings, which I'm proud to hear that both groups feel that way. Had some discussions around how it's looking for the transition plan for the RCMP side, realizing we're transitioning to get our staff, but they're transitioning folks out, and it sounds like their transitioning is going quite well for their bodies, which is nice to hear as well. Talked about fresh arrests in the areas and how we're going to do file transfers moving forward as we are working towards that POJ. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks, right, Councillor Plott. Councillor Bressy.
Great, thank you. Well, for my vacation, I went all the way up to Yellowknife with my family, which was quite interesting to see. I went the worst time of year you could possibly go, and it was still a fantastic time. And of local impact, I really want to give a huge shout out to all of our amazing municipal staff in the region for the work they do through GPREP. It was everybody I talked to when they asked where you were from. I said Grande Prairie, and they go, oh, I got evacuated there, or my family or my friends got evacuated there. And so incredibly thankful for the care, the support they got here. Had nothing but glowing things to say about us, not just giving them a safe place to be, but also how kindly they were treated here. And I know that Grande Prairie is incredibly well regarded in that community because of that. So just to it felt kind of good, even though I really had nothing to do with it, to hear how important Grande Prairie, and specifically the city of Grande Prairie, was to that community. So I want to say thank you to all of our staff that were involved in those evacuations Also, holy smokes, was it eerie driving through hours and hours and hours of burnt down forest from horizon to horizon. And no wonder we saw so much smoke, and it was sad and eerie in many ways. But again, thank you to our staff. Some local events that have already been mentioned was I got to do the Grand Gathering Gala, Earth Day, 80s Night. Thank you for everybody that attended those. Thank you to everybody that put those on. And then in my AB Munis role, the best part of my Alberta Municipalities presidentship is visiting members. And it was kind of fun. I got to visit High Level in one corner of the province and Medicine Hat in the exact opposite corner of the province within 3 days of each other. So that was pretty fun. And I also got to visit Calgary, Brooks, Manning. And it's interesting, again, talking to these municipalities that are very different geographies and sizes of us, but still have the same issues we have, and really, it's always interesting. And I also got to meet with MP Atchison to talk about federal housing programs and how those are going. So had a really busy couple weeks, but a really great couple weeks.
Thanks for that, Councillor Bressy. Councillor Auger.
No, thank you. The first week and the second week on our time off, we're primarily dealing with funeral arrangements and wakes and funerals. So I came back and went to a board meeting with the Friendship Center, so I'm still involved in that one. And then went home for the funeral. Came back and was involved with the tourism GP, did the blessings in the morning. And then in my personal work business, I was at the Hillside School doing cultural teachings with kindergarten all the way to grade 6. And the next day I was doing teepee pole retrieval at the Evergreen, and then I went to the ribbon cutting at the National Car Rental. And I went to the wrestling event Friday night, and then I also went Saturday morning. And honest, I've never seen that arena so full of participants and fans. And just even watching the wrestling, I tell you, I'd be on the ground all the time. Pretty good wrestling matches, honest to God, adults and even the youth. And I also went to Earth Day and partied and danced at the United Way 80s Retro Fund. So had a good 2 or 3 weeks. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for that, Councillor Auger. Councillor Thiessen.
Thanks, Mayor Clayton. Councillor Auger, if you were on the ground in a wrestling match, I'm sure you were just setting up your opponent. You're a big, strong dude, and I'm sure you have the moves to flip him over. And it was an electric atmosphere at Eastling Center for their wrestling event. So thanks to the organizers, volunteers, the teams, and the athletes, and our staff for helping put together such a great event. I was only able to pop in for 20 minutes, but I got to see 3 matches, and I was very happy with that. The baby wanted to go to the play place, so I couldn't watch the wrestling, but I could hear it. Yeah, it was a busy week, but I've got a list here of things that you guys all weren't at, mostly because I was working lots while we were on our council break. And it wasn't because council directed me to work, but these are all external. So I did a bunch of meetings with Mighty Peace Watershed Alliance. We did a general board meeting, an executive board meeting, IWMP meeting, 2 State of the Watershed meetings, and then we had an additional executive meeting to talk about our discussion in Slave Lake with Treaty 8 First Nations, which was a really great discussion. In fact, we had the Lubicon First Nation, Peerless Trout, Whitefish Lake, and Swan River all there. And largely we were talking with them about what are the issues for you in the watershed that we need to identify and maybe didn't in our last State of the Watershed, which was released in 2015. And some of the things came up, we knew. Water is a big issue for them. Wetlands, they want it clear and safe. The road cutting from Peace River to Fort McMurray is a big concern for them because they feel it'll cause a big disturbance, especially in the Peerless Lakes. And protecting the old growth forest out in Swan River is some of those big issues that the First Nations would like us to at least touch upon in our next State of the Watershed and Integrated Watershed Management Plan, or at least discussions with the government. I also had meetings with Grand Spirit Foundation. The general meeting, we had a special meeting, a finance meeting, and a building committee meeting. Don't worry, everything's going good, guys. From there, I went to the ASHA trade show and convention. This was their 61st ever, and I had the distinct honor of emceeing that entire event with the Premier and other ministers in attendance. Lots of great information was shared at that meeting, and for any people working in our entertainment division here at the City of Grande Prairie, I saw a fabulous magician named Chris Gowan. Really amazing young kid, had a great very comedic, magical performance. And normally I'm not into magicians, but this guy, he could make things levitate. It was pretty cool. Let's see, what else did I have? Oh, I also had the opportunity to do Destination Imagination, which was a MC event that's been going on in our community for 18 years. It's the only one of its kind in Alberta, really engaging kids into the STEM learning process and incorporating the arts as well. So I like to call it the STEAM learning process. We had 11 teams and everyone had great fun. I want to send a big shout out and thank you to the organizers of that event as well as the Grande Prairie Composite High School and Principal Volbeda for providing snacks, drinks, and the venue for the kids to do this great, glorious, artistic science fair program. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, that was my month in a condensed format. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Thiessen. Councillor O'Toole.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Clayton. Between April 14th and 17th, I attended the Economic Development Leader Summit in Kananaskis. Like Councillor Palat said, there was lots of talk. Positive growth in the province, especially in the Grande Prairie area. On the 18th, I attended Special Olympics fundraiser. It was held at the Jackpot. Good food, lots of money raised, and I spent a lot. I support them because they're just good people. On the 20th, I attended a Can-Dan Sensory Solution Information session. It was hosted by the Grande Prairie Hospital and supported by Motion. They deal with people with sensory concerns, mobility concerns, and it opened up my eyes to some of the things that's out there on the market. I also attended Jersey Mike's. It's a brand spanking new Subway shop or sub shop in the Grande Prairie area. It's across from Walmart, and it was, I don't eat that kind of stuff, but there was a young guy there that the money that's raised on subs goes to, I'm trying to think what the youth thing is. Anyhow, for every dollar or every sub made, a portion of the money goes to Make-A-Wish Foundation. On the 16th was National Tourism Week started, and I attended the breakfast and it was a panel. Mayor Clayton was part of that panel. There was others there as well. And on the 23rd, I attended the Spring Garden Party, which was National Tourism Week. And they hosted it at many different locations, just a little event, show off the city or town or village, and it was held in Sexsmith, and it was great. I got to meet with a number of individuals that have lived in the community a long time, like Brian Tink. He and I go back a lot of years, but it was great. All the food that was prepared was from within 100 kilometers of the town of Sexsmith. On the 25th, I attended the Canadian Wrestling Championships. I attended, a good part of the morning and left a little bit later in the afternoon. And I gotta say, I watched a couple of maybe 13-year-olds, and they were wrestling. It looked like a couple of fish out of the water. They were flopping back and forth, upside down, around and around. And there was a winner, and it wasn't me. I don't think I could compete. On the weekend, I spent some time with my grandchildren, and I went to Evergreen Park to watch the car show and go through. I had a lot of friends that were at the event showing off their wares. And between my grandchildren, they had a little bet going on that who would count how many people Grandpa had to shake hands with, or they come over to shake hands with Grandpa. And I got 17, and I don't know if I won or lost, but they made sure that I was out there, and people know that. That's why they don't hang out with me, because there's lots of visiting going on. But anyhow, that's my report. Thank you.
Great. Thanks for that, Councillor O'Toole. My report's going to be long, and I apologize after I asked you all to be brief. So apparently, most of them are things that you didn't do. So I had the opportunity to read to a grade 5-6 class at St. Pat's Catholic School. It's an interesting story because the student is a child of a doctor that moved to Grande Prairie about a year ago, who I had the privilege to meet in our recruitment initiatives. And so they had reached out and said, will you go to my son's class? And the teacher was very welcoming and accommodating. And it was great to be to that class and to hear his experience of now living in Grande Prairie for a year. So it was kind of special. Also, we haven't met in a while, so I wanted to thank and acknowledge all the work that went into the State of the City. State of the City was another event that we host ourselves. It was a great opportunity for myself to moderate a conversation between Chief Lacusta, President Shane, Cindy Park, representing the Alberta Chamber of Commerce, and I'm missing one. Oh, and Scott Fash coming up from Edmonton for Build Alberta. I thought it was a really good reflection of various sort of buckets of work that is happening in our community, and how the intersection of advocacy between organizations provincially and locally. So I wanted to thank our team. A lot of work goes into these events, and they wouldn't happen without the commitment of our team. So thanks to everyone involved in that event. Also, very shortly after that, had the opportunity to bring greetings and words on behalf of council at the Invest Grande Prairie Mixer, recognizing agriculture, forestry, and energy. It was a well-attended event at Center 2000, and thanks to the Invest GP team for continuing to put on those events that bring in various sectors across our region. I had the privilege and was invited to speak on a panel with the Grande Prairie Area Real Estate Association, their board. It was their AGM. They had a panel with myself and MP Workington, as well as Iris Evans, who sits on the provincial board, and the CEO of the Provincial Real Estate Association. They represent about 15,000 realtors from across the province. Conversation about opportunities within municipalities in red tape reduction and permitting, growth. It was a full conversation around many areas, but it was great to see so many local realtors and realtors from across the region in attendance. Brought greetings on behalf of council, first at the Curling Alberta Masters Men's and Women's Provincials, so all the Alberta teams, and then a short period of time after at the Curling Canadian Masters Men's and Women's Nationals. I wanted to give a special shout out to our colleague, Councillor Kurt Balderson, who won the Men's Provincial and Masters, went on to the Nationals, got a silver, wasn't quite the gold medal winner that he had been when he previously attended many years ago, but really just wanted to congratulate him and thank the Curling Club, the organizers of the event, the sponsors, as well as those who traveled from afar to come to Grande Prairie and experience our city. I had the opportunity to speak to many of the curlers, and they had been out and exploring our community, whether through retail or other amenities, and were very impressed with our community and really enjoyed themselves. Had a lunch meeting with the chair and the vice chair of Aquaterra to see how things are going there and just get a brief update. Council will be in front of the group in the next few months as their AGM is coming soon. Then took a bit of a break, went to see some family in British Columbia and did some traveling with my husband and our dog, as one child was working and one is still traveling. So it was the first time my husband and I had done with just our dog, and so it's very a change in my life, I'll say. Then attended the Economic Developers of Alberta meeting EDA conference, let's call it, in Kananaskis. And I went to a session that I thought was something different, that, and it actually was my favorite highlight of the conference. It was a session called, it was a sector roundtable on life sciences, health, and biotech. I didn't know what to expect from it, but it was a conversation around Alberta's emerging opportunity through a series of focused industry conversations. And what it was in that was about individuals, not only from market intelligence, but from Alberta Continuing Care, from Alberta Innovates, from data science, as well as from Bio Alberta, and talking about industry's needs, how that interconnects with research and education and opportunities coming out of that. It really triggered something in me that built some excitement and opportunities as we see the side entrepreneurial center open at NWP, how industry in various sectors can use that facility to find solutions locally through partnerships with U of A and NWP, and really becoming that sort of research hub and solution provider for many sectors. So I thought it was a great conversation, and the conference, as Councillor Platt mentioned, was a lot of energy focus, a lot of AI focus, but this one was a standout session for me, really around that, something different and unique. Had a meeting with our CAO and ourselves and our Reeve from the County of Grande Prairie in regards to intra-Alberta multimodal corridor, talking about rail service through Sangudo to Grande Prairie, as well as potential rail service to the west of Grande Prairie, and I expect to hear more conversations around that in the near future. With Councillor Berg, attended the Healthcare Task Force, and I know through talking with Ms. Bieberdorf, there will be more conversations in the near future. Looking for an update on how our ambassadors are doing, our healthcare ambassadors, and so I know Council will get updated on that recently. Met with Shannon Dunfield with various hats that she wears. In particular, wanted to talk to her about the Indigenous recreation and sport work that she's doing and how that can tie into the next host potentially being Grande Prairie for the Arctic Winter Games, talking about incorporating and looking for their support in Alberta continuing to be as an active partner in the Arctic Winter Games. As mentioned, sat on the tourism panel for National Tourism Week. Really enjoyed that conversation. And the last question was the most fun, is it asked what my dreams were for 5 years and 10 years in tourism. So if you want to hear those, please ask me, because if you know me, my dreams are always big. So it was quite fun. Also, there's been a busy month with Mid-Sized City Mayor's Caucus. We've not only had executive and monthly meetings, had a meeting with Minister Williams in regards to Bill 28 and some of the impacts in mid-sized cities. I was appointed to an Alberta Municipalities Finance and Economy Committee. We've had a meeting most recently talking about in regards to where our opportunities are in resolution, in regards to changes that may impact revenue sharing across the province, as well as how that layers into the work that Alberta Munis is doing in regards to property taxes reimagined. As mentioned, attended the Wrestling Nationals U15, U17, U19 opening ceremony, and then had the privilege on Saturday to go hand out medals at the end of the day Saturday to various winners, but most notably I wanted to recognize Jaron Alamona from Grande Prairie, who was a U19 silver medal winner. He was very proud. He was very disappointed he didn't win the gold, but he wrestled very well, and it was a close bout, and he's very proud to be from our region and being a national winner. So congratulations to him. Also attended the EMS wine auction fundraiser this past weekend, which was raising money for the AED for Life program, expanding defibrillators across the region as well. The funds are used for the Trusty the Husky program, which engages youth in safety and EMS education. I haven't heard how the final numbers were, but it was a well-attended event, so congratulations to them. And last but not least, attended the Earth Day events at Bonnet's Energy Center. It was a great feeling in that room because there was more space. It's been in the MCC most recently, but it was at Bonnet's. And other than the ATCO vehicles, which needed their horns unplugged, other than that, there was some great information and booths, and learned some new things and picked up some great seeds from the Grande Prairie City of Grande Prairie team. So thank you to all the staff and organizations that participated with that. That is my report. I do see Councillor Auger in the queue. Did you have something in addition?
I just wanted to add that at the wrestling match, I was talking with one of the parents who's been to a few Canadian national wrestling, and he said this was the best one he's been at. He's been at 3 Canadian nationals with his son, and that just blew me away. We were just talking, and he says, "This here place," he said, "it just blew me away." So, kudos to our people that worked at the wrestling, and I guess the organizers too, because they did a great job. And to be recognized, I think, like that is very important to us. So.
Appreciate you bringing that up, Councillor Auger. Grande Prairie continues to be an incredible host. We are a game city, and we do it very well. We have exceptional facilities, passionate volunteers, and generous sponsors. And so thank you to everyone who made that games a success. And thanks for bringing that up, Councillor Auger. With that, I'll call this meeting adjourned, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you.